That's quite a lot of smoke, and of course it could be more, but I am smoking indoors right now, and it would set off pretty much every fire alarm if I was to smoke this to its fullest, of course. What I'm smoking today, and what I've been smoking recently quite a bit, is my Eleaf 50w with my version 2 Atlantis tank. Now this is a great tank, of course. It does take a little bit of time getting used to, even if you're used to the original model of the Atlantis 1 tank. This is a bit of a different beast of its own. Requires a little bit of a learning curve. For someone new to this tank will run you quite a bit. It's a bit of an expensive tank. It's about a $60 tank, generally speaking, or anywhere from $40 to $60. The Eleaf battery as well is about as cheap as you could find. It was probably 40 bucks, up to about 60 bucks as well. So it's quite an expensive $120 if you can't find a good deal on it. This is a great mod, no doubt about that. I do have a few issues with it, which we'll discuss in this video. I'd like to produce a little bit more smoke production for you, but I think I'll do a separate video in my follow-up later on down the line to show you what it's really capable of doing. Right now I've got a bunch of VG liquid in here. It's 100% VG. Not to say I only smoke VG through this. I do smoke a lot of PG as well. I do feel the tank works best with, at least with the version 2, with the VG liquids, or at least primarily VG liquid. It seems to wick slower with PG liquids, which is very strange. I'm not sure why. Usually it's the total opposite, but in this case the VG actually does better. I've seen a few reviewers saying otherwise, but I've had better results and my coils last a lot longer using VG liquids, which I'll get into that in a bit anyway. So let's take a look at the device itself. We've got an airflow option here and an airflow option here. It's a dual airflow basically setting, meaning when I turn this little dial here, which is on the very bottom, I don't know if you guys can see, let me try to turn that a little bit more so you guys can see. If I've turned it like I've done now, and again there's no trickery, you can see it's full airflow open, which is not how I smoke this anymore. I particularly don't care for it like I used to. I don't think this thing really needs all that airflow to be a great big smoke cloud of a vapor machine right here. This thing can smoke up every room in your house in a matter of minutes. There's no doubt about that. No matter how big your house is, unless you live in a mansion, this thing can smoke up quite a few rooms pretty fast. I do live in a one-bedroom apartment, so it smokes up the entire place pretty fast, and I've lived in a house before with this already. I just recently moved, and it smoked up that as well. So that's just to say the least. You'll get definitely a good haze. If you have a staircase, or you are smoking in your upstairs bedroom and you go downstairs, to the bed, downstairs the hallway, if you have a 2-floor, you will see that smoke will be above your head or head level with you. So it's like kind of like going through like a foggy place. It's pretty crazy. So it does definitely cause a lot of fog. The way I particularly like to smoke it, as you guys could see in the beginning of this video, is these two airflow options like this. This gives me best results for best smoke using this airflow option, which is not fully open, but it's definitely what the third option would be on the very first model of this tank. It is quite good. And then you've got the second option, which was on the original version 1 version of the Atlantis tank. So it's quite a big smash of the best of the both worlds. You do get airflow options up at the mouthpiece right there. I don't know if you guys could see. I think I'm going to at least take this down a bit here so you guys could see if I move this, because it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. So you can slide it just like you did with the there we go, they're fully open now. You could slide them just like you did with the bit down here, which is also very slidable. So quite great. I will admit that this airflow option for me does not work out great. Actually, it hurt my lungs quite a bit, and I was getting a bit of a cold from smoking like that, like water on the lungs. So I don't care for that airflow option anymore. I did like it in the beginning, but again, it was starting to really bother my chest quite a bit. I do got bronchitis and different things, and like asthma, so it's quite different. You may not have this issue, but I particularly don't care for that because of this. I do realise I get better flavour as well with this closed, and less chances of it shooting up into my mouth and my lungs with this closed. So it's a bit of an option I just don't use. So let's take off this massive drip tip from the top at least. Here's the bore of the drip tip, which is really large. It's actually larger than the previous drip tip, so if you are somebody who likes to change these, you're going to need to either malt it a little bit and figure out a way to make the threading work, or find something that's just made for this kind of bore. I'm not sure on the sizing. You can see this is pretty much your, let's see if we can get a bit of as, you know, there we go, you guys can see little hose there. Hopefully it's a little blurry. I do apologise, it's not reading it properly because it's so shiny in this lighting. But there are four hose to add to the airflow as well, which is why we can adjust them right here. So this is a great tank, no doubt about that. I've got little to no complaints about this particular tank. I think it's a great piece. It's definitely something for someone who's actually really serious about smoke clouds. If you want something for just flavour, there may be other pieces on the market that are a little bit better for just giving you flavour and mortar smoke results. You know, but this is the best if you want to get massive clouds. This is the particular reason you'd want to get a tank like this. It doesn't hold as much liquid as some of the other tanks on the market. There are bigger tanks, but this is a massive tank as well. If you're looking for more you know, liquid storage or something like that, so you could just fill it once a day and keep it all day long, and you really like that one flavour or maybe two flavours tops, and you're really not that picky, I'd go with maybe the Mega. I think it's the Atlantis Mega in most regions. That's a pretty good tank as well. I've heard of overheating issues and things like that, but I do feel that most of these Atlantis tanks do overheat. So I've only used, in the Atlantis line from Aspire, I've only used the basically the first version and the second version you're seeing here, which is much larger than the first version and holds more liquid than the first as well. But I will say that the storage is not even enough for me. It's not too bad. It's pretty good because I do change a lot of flavors daily, so this is not too bad for me. But for someone out there who wants something a little bit more, the Kanga tanks are bigger and do hold more, that's for sure, but they're about the same price, and I don't feel that the functionality is as well there for big smoke results, in my particular opinion, and the taste is just not as good as this particular tank. So one of the big things they did upgrade from part 1 to version 2, which you're seeing here, is not only the airflow options being a little bit different and adjusted, as we've already talked about. The cotton is now Japanese organic cotton, which is pretty good. You do notice a difference. There is a bit of an aftertaste if you don't let this basically soak into the you know, coil as well as you can. It's basically you're soaking into the cotton itself, and there's a bit of an aftertaste when you first start smoking it, so expect that to go away, because it does. You do need to let this one particularly soak a lot longer than the first version because it's using organic cotton. It's just a bit thicker, and I've noticed it's slower wicking for some reason, I guess because of this, and basically you need to soak it a little bit longer. VG liquid seems to prime it a lot better, and if you have zero nicotine liquids, it'll prime the coil a lot faster than if you use nicotine coils. And I do want to mention to you guys, if you guys use a lot of nicotine in your smoke, which most of us probably do, that does deteriorate these coils a lot faster than if you were smoking all VG and zero nicotine liquids. You know, PG still deteriorates this for some reason pretty fast. So if you have a dead coil, or a coil that's going dead, switch to VG liquids for a while there if you can, if you're not big preference into having that massive throat hit, because you're going to get that with high wattage on this particular tank anyway. If you don't mind that, then switch to VG until you can get another coil, or maybe you build your own. Which brings me to my next point, is you can actually build your own coils for this thing, which is quite great if you're someone who could do that. I particularly don't have that talent, and I don't have that time, but this is a cool feature to have, of course, for those of you who do like that, so it's a good option. I do want to mention on the battery, which is the Eleaf 50w, of course it's going to be reversed for you guys because that's just convenient, right? But it does have a battery meter, which we can try to zoom on. Right there, let's get that back on. So it's got the voltage and the wattage. the bigger numbers of the wattage right now and the voltages in the small corner with the battery. It also tells me this is reading at 0.3 ohms, which I feel is accurate for this particular coil which is in it, because it was rated by Aspire, the company that makes it, at 0.3. So that's pretty good. That means it should be pretty much accurate. Of course it might be 3.1, 3.2, we don't know, but it's pretty damn close regardless. So the other thing to mention is you can go up and down with your wattage or voltage depending on what you've done by just pressing the up and down arrows here. You can put this device into a lock mode, which I can't remember offhand how to do. For those of you who do remember, you guys could chime in if you'd like. But one of the things you can do to turn it off, you press 5 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to turn it back on. And for just to see, if you want to switch the wattage to voltage, go 1, 2, 3, and there you go. There's your voltage. 1, 2, 3. Back to wattage. There's a lot of people, and my friends, that are buying these kind of devices with the Eleaf 30 or 50 and don't know how to do that, so it's something that might help them down the line. But this does look a little bit odd because I've got the basically the razor, or whatever you'd like to call it, the height adjuster, if you will, basically, because this does come with the Eleaf if you buy it in the box, like I did, which is certified, and everything else in its original. It does come with this, and you can raise your tank up a little bit. It's kind of nice for me. It just feels a little bit more comfortable, and I like the way I can hold it, because I can hold it like this with my fingers close to the trigger and my other finger, index fingers, right here. If I want to check how the temperature's doing without reading the gauge, there is some way to check the temperature on here as well. It will warn you. It's not perfect, but it does kind of tell you. I wouldn't even bother with it. It's just not that great. But you can just touch it, see how hot it's getting, see if you need to let it rest. You'll notice more overheating with more nicotine flavors and more PG liquids, but with VG liquids you'll notice it doesn't overheat nearly as fast or as much. So it's quite a good option to maybe switch to VG if you're not dead set on PG liquids. And if you don't know what that means, PG is propylene glycol and VG is vegetable glycerin. But anyway, if you can see right here, there's also a charging place right here. For a USB, it's the same as like every Android device out there, so it's not too bad. It's just a micro USB, I believe that's what they consider these, or an Android charger, whatever you want to call them. But pretty cool. Nothing on the bottom, nothing too great. You can just see it's, power. It's quite nice because it does tell you it's like 5 volts and 1 amp. So if you have 1 amp, that's great, but if you want 2 amps, you'll get a faster charge and it will not hurt the device. So if you have a iPad charger or a tablet charger of some sort that will have 2 amps, generally speaking, and it will charge the device much faster, because those devices require that just to barely run, because they need all that extra juice just to charge the device at an ample speed, otherwise it will take forever. Most of our phones have 1 amp, so if you're charging this off of 1 amp, it takes a little bit longer, of course, significantly longer, I would say. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this particular tank and this battery for right now. Been smoking this for probably about a month now. It's good. And that's a lot better than the 30 watt. The battery life isn't that great on the Eleaf 50w, but it's not bad either. It's good enough to get me through my days, but I will upgrade this particular battery down the line to something that I can actually change the batteries on that will be a more full box mod type experience. But for right now, let's leave you with some smoke and enjoy our day. Wow, it's a complete whiteout. Alright guys, till next time, hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe and comment if you'd like to. If you have any questions, just let me know.